Hard work of improving New Yorkers' lives starts now.
Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani wasting no time pivoting from campaigning to governing. The soon-to-be mayor of New York City introducing his transition team as he works to deliver on his bold agenda.
Some of these people will have familiar names. Others will not. What will unite them will be a commitment to solving old problems with new solutions.
And New Jersey Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill defying the polls with a decisive double-digit victory in her race, also setting up her transition to Trenton.
The reason I was so focused on affordability issues is because my community is so focused on affordability issues and how they're going to be successful.
What their victories mean for policies in the tri-state and party politics nationwide. Plus, Curtis Sliwa on how he's not stopping his work in New York City, and newly elected City Controller Mark Levine joining us from Puerto Rico. It's all coming up on Picks on Politics.
This is Picks on Politics with Dan Manarino.
And welcome to Picks on Politics, everybody. I am Dan Manarino, and here we are. We made it, right? The elections are over, and as the winners say, now the real work begins. Big changes promised, and the pressure is on now to deliver. So let's start the show off with our picks panel, looking ahead to these crucial weeks before our new leaders are sworn in. Joining me this week, City Hall reporter for the New York Post, Hannah Furyk, and host of the Centered podcast, JC Polanco. Great to have both of you here.
Thank you.
After a very, very long campaign season. So let's begin with the big announcement of the day, right? Now, I mean, politics doesn't stop. You miss a minute, you miss a lot. And just on Friday morning, Republican Elise Stefanik officially declaring that she is now running for governor, calling the current governor, Kathy Hochul, the worst governor in America. So, JC, looking at this, big wins for the Democrats in the governor's race in Virginia and in New Jersey as well. What do you make of this then?
Well, this is a very different calculus. You know, Congresswoman Stefanik sees what happens in the last gubernatorial race, saw how close Congressman Zeldin came, and sees that the governor's endorsement of Assemblyman Mamdani for mayor put her in a position where she's going to have to explain outside of New York City in those ruby red parts of the state why she supported a socialist for mayor, considering that so many parts of the state are so heavily taxed. And some of these proposals he's making are going to cost New Yorkers a lot of money, and not to mention some of the positions that he's taken on the police, on Israel, and some of the many things that I've warned Democrats, especially centrist Democrats, of not endorsing Mayor-elect Mamdani, because the campaign of Assemblyman Mamdani and the things that Assemblyman Mamdani has said on the record will be the albatross around the necks of Democrats nationally. Congresswoman Stefanik smells blood in the water, and she's coming after Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul, to her side, has an advantage in that it's a Democratic state, and Congresswoman Stefanik is very MAGA. And the last time we had a Republican MAGA-like win statewide, I don't remember.
Right, exactly.
So that's the issue for Congresswoman Stefanik.
And it's also a very interesting race, Hannah, right? Because we're assuming that this is going to be a head-to-head matchup between Elise Stefanik and Kathy Hochul, but there will be a primary between Kathy Hochul and her current lieutenant governor, Antonio Delgado. So that throws an interesting wrench into the mix here. How do you see that playing out? And how did we get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, it's a super contentious relationship between her and her lieutenant governor. You know, they don't make many public appearances together anymore. And I think it's signaling more of that, you know, divisiveness within the Democratic Party as we move forward into this primary. And, you know, like you were saying, there is a lot of Democrats that are looking for, you know, someone to be a little bit more progressive. Kathy Hochul, but there is that hunger for the centrist Democrats as well. And Stefanik, you know, she has a very strong message, and she is going to appeal to pretty much every Republican voter in the state, especially after we've seen this blue wave kind of sweeping the nation. It's
interesting, too, because JC, there may be a challenge. Ed Cox, the Republican chair, this morning said there will not be a challenge against Elise Stefanik. But Bruce Blakeman is out there saying, well, I do want to run for governor. We'll see how all of that plays out, too. But there is this Mamdani factor kind of looming over it all. So that is, how do you see this? Kathy Hochul took the stage at Somos in Puerto Rico with Mamdani just on Thursday night. And once again, she hits the stage and people are saying, tax the rich, tax the rich. And she goes, the more you tell me to do this, the less I'm likely to do it.
Right. Look, because she recognizes she cannot win statewide being tied to Mayor-elect Mamdani's positions on any social issue, on any financial issue. She can. So the tax the rich wing of the Democratic Party is by far the loudest. They're the most active on X. They'll probably beat me up right now after watching this. But the truth is that New York is a lot bigger than Brooklyn and the USSR of Western Queens. Yeah. When you get outside of New York City is a very moderate centrist state. And when you see the kind of taxes that they're paying in Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, Ulster, Duchess. The last thing they want to hear is anybody raising their taxes so that some wealthy parents could get their child care paid for by the taxpayer. That's not going to sell well. That is why so many, including Congressman Suozzi and Congresswoman Gillen, for the life of them cannot understand how a centrist Democrat like Governor Hochul could endorse a socialist candidate for mayor. She could have sat this one out like Senator Schumer, like Senator Gillibrand, and not have to have dealt with it. But what was the option? She was going to get primaried from the left.
Yep.
I'm sure that if she didn't do something, the Democratic Socialists of America were going to declare civil war on her.
Well, and also Delgado was supporting Mamdani as well, right? But let's talk about the actual Mamdani administration now that we are here on this Friday, right? The mayor-elect announcing his transition team, Hannah, with some familiar names. Maria Torres-Springer, the first deputy mayor under the Adams administration, right? And other familiar names on the transition team that have served in government before. So it's not necessarily this complete overhaul that people suspected.
Yeah, and you know, there are some familiar names. I think one of the major ones is Lena Khan, the former commissioner of the FTC, served under Biden. You know, I think he is trying to bring in some of these establishment Dems, some of these people that have been around to prove that he's not just this new kid on the block. He's going to take, you know, advice and guidance from people who have that experience. But you know, it has also signaled that a lot of these people do lean a little bit more progressive. So that's something interesting, I think, and it actually kind of mirrors the Adams administration when he first came into transition. You know, he also had a female diverse transition team. So that's kind of an interesting comparison as well.
Yeah, but people are looking at this, right, and saying he's bringing people in who have experience. Is it to make up for the fact that he didn't have the experience? What was your take on that? When you see some of these names who have been around for years.
These are all-stars he surrounded himself with. These are, I don't agree with them politically on nada, but no one could argue that these folks are experienced, that they know what they're doing, and he's surrounding himself with some good people. So that is exciting, considering that he really has very little to no managerial experience. He needs these kinds of all-stars around him. What's going to be important is who is he appointing to commissioners, judges, deputy mayors? Who are those people? Who's going to be the next commissioner of the NYPD?
That brings me to the reporting from the New York Post, right? There's this ongoing conversation between Mamdani and Jessica Tisch. He says he wants to keep her. Have they had a conversation? You guys have done some reporting on this week on whether or not she even wants to stay on.
Yeah, it's interesting because Mamdani has repeatedly said, you know, even when he's asked, you know, I keep saying that I want her to join, but Tisch has stayed largely out of it. You know, she said it would be inappropriate for her to get involved before the race was called.
Now it's over.
And now it's over, and she's still, you know, not really saying anything, you know, not really giving any hints. So it'll be interesting to see if she comes around. And he just last night said that they hadn't yet spoken, but he has asked to speak to her. So we'll see, you know, what comes of this, but we're not really getting a ton of new information on either side other than he wants to talk to her. She has not yet agreed to talk to him, so we'll see what happens.
And there's also this new information that came out that she was tipped off to the ICE raids in Chinatown and whether or not he will like that was actually a thing that played out.
Yes.
I do want to get your take, JC, real quick on what happened in New Jersey and Mikey Sherrill winning and what that says now about the Democratic Party, because you have a centrist in New Jersey and a Democratic Socialist in New York City.
Well, it's great news for centrist Democrats, and it's going to, the only way that Democrats get success nationally is by more Mikey Sherrills and less Mayor-elect Mamdanis. That's just a fact. But the margin, we never expected that. All the polls showed a much tighter margin between Mikey Sherrill and Jack Ciattarelli. And I think a lot of it had to do with the shutdown, the ending of the project that connected New York and New Jersey by President Trump, the Gateway Project. When you take a look at some of the things that happened at the very last minute and how Jack Ciattarelli cloaked himself under MAGA, I think that was a problem, considering that New Jersey does not elect MAGA Republicans. Christine Todd Whitman, Kane, even Chris Christie, prior to going crazy with MAGA, was not a MAGA Republican. So when Jack Ciattarelli said, I'll be MAGA and take this campaign, independents, which are the second largest voting bloc in New Jersey, said no, and it was clear to us in the results.
All right, to be continued for all things considered. JC, great to have you here. Hannah, great time to have your first appearance here on Picks and Politics. Good to have you. Come on back soon, okay? Yeah.